RC.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of GGRC. I'm RC, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. But first, before we get into that, I just want to point out, look at this, back here. Sushi's actually back in the basement hanging out. Never thought he'd be back, but here he is. Alright guys, so I read a lot of video game news throughout the week. I like to stay abreast of things, you know? I like to, keep my finger on the pulse of what's new and what's going on with video games, of course, right? And every once in a while, I'll see an article, and I'll read it, and I'll read the comments, and I'll see the way people are reacting to things or what they're saying. I feel like a lot of times, people don't really kind of know what they're talking about when it comes to this stuff. They'll throw out they're doing this because of this reason or whatever. And sometimes they're right, other times I'll read it, and I'm just like, man, you are way off base. And with this particular topic that came up, I actually read this over on Nintendo Life. They're a great little website, by the way. They specialize in Nintendo news. Definitely recommend checking them out. I think they're UK based. But regardless, they had an article today that I read, which was about how Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story is not selling very well in Japan. And so they wanted to report this, and I don't think they really went into why that is or speculated or anything like that, but the comments certainly speculate about it. Now, full transparency here, I did actually buy Bowser's Inside Story because I'm a big fan of Bowser and Mario in general. Actually, to be quite fair, Bowser is probably my #1 favorite video game character of all time. I just love the guy. And Bowser's Inside Story was a very special game for me because when I played it, it gave Bowser like a new personality. It made him this like different character than we always thought that he was. So much so that, I'm buying all his amiibos. Like here's the wedding suit Bowser, I even have Bowser Jr. here. I have one of the other Bowser ones. I have a little shelf over here. You can actually see one of the Bowsers there. I even got like this plush guy, the bone dry Bowser or whatever. So goes without saying, I'm a big fan of Bowser. Anything he's in, like they could be, Bowser's crapping contest. I would probably buy that and play it and really enjoy it. With that said, the game is still not selling well, I guess. I guess up until this point, it came out in January here, but in Japan it came out in December, at the end of December to be exact, and I guess it's only sold about 20,000 copies. And I'm going to give you a few reasons as to why that probably is, for anybody who's wondering, anybody who wonders how these things work and why things happen. Sometimes there's specific reasons, sometimes people like to cite that there's one specific reason, but just like everything else in life, there's so many factors involved that you can't pinpoint one thing as the problem. There's always a lot of things going on. So first up, the release of this game was really bad timing. At least in the US it was. I don't know if this actually came out the same day in Japan as the new Super Mario Brothers, what is it called? New Super Mario Brothers Wii U for Switch or something? I don't know. It's got a really complicated, weird name, but regardless, it's New Super Mario Brothers on the Wii U version that came over to Switch. Now, in the US, that was actually released on the exact same day as Bowser's Inside Story, and you might be wondering, like, why would you release two Mario games on the same day? And that's a great question. Why would you do it? So, the #1 reason is the release date. It's really bad timing. Even if they released it in Japan, it's at the end of December. And at the end of December, it's at the end of the year, people are busy, people probably already have all their games for the year and everything. They're not looking for this game that came out of nowhere, and that's what it kind of did. It just kind of like slipped it in there. And then when it came to the US, it also just kind of slipped right in there, just kind of slid in. It was like, oh, by the way, I'm also coming out, and people are going to completely forget about that. Now, it actually reminds me of Titanfall 2. Now, I don't know if you guys have played this game. If you guys haven't played Titanfall 2, get yourselves a copy and play through the campaign. It's one of the best ones that have come out in the past few years. But regardless, Electronic Arts decided to put Titanfall 2 in a release. I actually have the release dates up here. It came out back in 2016, right? So, Titanfall 2 came out on October 28th. So, end of October, beginning of November. Because they had faith in it. They thought it was going to sell pretty well. And it didn't sell bad. I think it overall sold about 4 million copies, which is still not bad. It's a good sell. But it's not quite Call of Duty or Battlefield numbers, which is what I think Electronic Arts was looking for. So, now if you look at this, October 28th, okay? The week before, October 21st, they released Battlefield 1. Mind you, Battlefield 1 is also an Electronic Arts published game. Why would they put both of those games, both huge releases that they put a lot of money into, back-to-back releases like that? I don't know. And to top it all off, this is the most ridiculous part, is that on November 1st, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare came out. So why would you sandwich what is considered to be like a newer IP? You know, this is part 2. It's not brand new, but it's newer. Why would you sandwich that between two behemoths in the FPS genre? Like, Battlefield and Call of Duty are what people go for FPS. So even if both people are, or all people are buying Call of Duty and Battlefield, they're going to completely overlook Titanfall because they got plenty of gaming from both of those games right there. Like, even if you buy one of those games, if you are a gigantic Call of Duty fan or a gigantic Battlefield fan, you're going to spend a hell of a lot of time online playing those multiplayer. That's really all there is to it. So, you know, as good as Titanfall is, I am probably one of the onlys who bought Titanfall and didn't buy the other two games, but obviously I'm in the minority, right? I can't help but think, though, why would they do this? Why wouldn't they wait until the next year, like release it in March or release it in April? It probably would have done a hell of a lot better. Obviously, there's always several factors for that. That's something we can cover in another video. It's all business related, you know. It's all with fiscal year stuff and all that kind of thing. But regardless, it just makes you wonder why they didn't do this. Now, this is very similar to what's going on with Bowser's Inside Story. They're cramming in a lot of games into a very tight window, and that is just never a good idea because people do have limited funds to spend on games, and that's all there is to it. The number 2 reason is it's also available on the DS. Now, this came out on 3DS, but it also came out on its predecessor, the DS. So, I don't know if you guys know this, you know, here's the thing. The 3DS is backwards compatible with the DS, so if you have a copy of Bowser's Inside Story on DS, it'll work on your 3DS. Right. So yeah, in a way I can kind of understand the reasoning, you know, the whole thing, the whole idea, I guess, sort of being, you know, you have a whole new generation of gamers coming up. You know, it's been 10 years since Bowser's Inside Story came out, believe it or not. And over those 10 years, we've got a lot of new kids getting 3DSs and, you know, discovering Mario for the first time, that kind of thing. Discovering the Mario and Luigi RPG series for the first time. And so they're probably thinking, here's a brand new one that you guys probably haven't played. It's actually an old one, but don't tell anybody about that. Here's a brand new one to play and enjoy. And I'm sure some kids have gotten it and really enjoy it. But for the most part, it's like, you know, they can just get a cheap copy of the DS version on eBay for probably like $10, maybe even cheaper. So why would you pay $40 for this version of the game that's just kind of you know, an updated remake of it with prettier graphics? I don't know. So you're going to notice, you know, my reasons for 2, 3, and 4 are kind of all related. They're all sort of the same thing here, but I guess we'll just combine 3 and 4 here. But 3 and 4, we got... It's a remake. It's not a new game, and it's priced at $40. That is bonkers to me. I don't understand why Nintendo doesn't come out with I don't know if you want to make a label for it or make a budget version of games that are, you know, remakes of older games that don't really offer much. Like Bowser's Inside Story does actually add in sort of I guess you want to call it like a mini game version of the game where it's called Bowser Jr.'s Journey, and what happens in it is you play as Bowser Jr. and you go on this journey of what he's doing while Bowser's doing his thing in the main series. So it's kind of clever, right, from a story aspect. However, the gameplay leaves a lot to be desired because really the game can play itself. I mean, you play as Bowser Jr., you recruit minions, including like Goombas and you know, everybody in there, Koopa Troopas, everything. And you build a team, and they fight against other teams to work their way, you know, level up and work their way through the story. But the game can basically play itself. When you hit a button and start the level, your crew starts, and I swear, I've done it a couple times. You take a 3DS and just put it down and let it play. Most of the time you'll make it to the end without having to touch anything, unless it's like a really hard level and there's really tough enemies that you have to deal with. But it's like, it's a game that plays itself. It doesn't offer a whole lot of bang for the buck with that game. Now, a game that does offer bang for its buck is the game that came out the same day as Bowser's Inside Story. You guys might be thinking, oh, no. Why is, new Super Mario Brothers on the Switch worth $60? Well, guys, you got to figure you're getting the full normal game, right? You're getting the full normal Mario Brothers game. Then you're getting the Luigi expansion, okay? So what the Luigi expansion is for that game is they basically took the main game, they shortened up the levels a little bit, but made them more difficult. So every time you start a level, what happens is they give you 100 seconds, so the fast music starts immediately when you start a level, and you gotta try to rush through, grab all 3 coins, and make it to the flag in 100 seconds. So it's a fun, challenging game. And like I said, it's the whole main game. It's like every single level. So you're getting just as many levels from the main game as you did with the expansion. That is included in the new Switch version. So you're getting those 2 games basically, plus you're getting a whole ring of challenges, coin collecting challenges and stuff like that, which are actually pretty fun. I played a couple of them, and I'll probably return to them after I, finish the main game in there. But they're offering a lot of bang for your buck for $60. They're not charging, I think that the original game on Wii U, I think that was $60, and then the Luigi expansion I think was $20, if that's right. So that's $80 right there. So they're not charging you $80 for this. And on top of that, not a lot of people bought Wii U's. So they have a lot of reasons for, releasing this game on the Switch and having more people play it. Bowser's Inside Story was on the DS, and the DS sold a crap ton of units. Everybody who wanted to played Bowser's Inside Story. And, they have no reason to really pick this up again. And on top of that, with it being a remake, why didn't they just release a brand new one? I know there's probably a lot more involved to creating a new game than taking one, remastering it, updating the graphics and everything like that. But like, if you're going to take a wash on a game that you're putting all of this time and effort into, and still release it at a full $40 release point for the game, it's like, I don't know. I feel like you should take the time, put the time in, and like actually come out with a new one. I feel like a lot of people see this and they kind of, adults and not kids looking for new games, but adults. I feel like a lot of adults who are 3DS players like myself are looking at this as sort of a cash grab type of situation. And I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm saying that people are looking at it that way. My reason number 4 is that several recent 3DS games that have come out are not selling well either. Now, believe it or not, they've recently come out with Luigi's Mansion, which was a GameCube era game. Great game, another game that I really, really like, and it's another game I actually did purchase last year in October when it came out because I'm a big fan of it. However, that did not sell great. And they also came out with WarioWare Gold, which is sort of a amalgamation of all the best WarioWare minigames crammed into one game with a story, sort of. And from what I've read, that has not sold well either. So people are moving away from the 3DS, or at least losing interest with it. So with them releasing other games in 2018, it's no surprise in 2019 their first new release is not selling very well either. And unfortunately, I think Kirby's Epic Yarn is coming out in a couple months here, or next month, I forget when, March, April, I forget. But either way, it's not looking good for Kirby, which is unfortunate because I am a Kirby fan. So my 5th and final reason as to why this might be happening with Bowser's Inside Story, why it's not selling well, probably the most important reason why, is that people have moved on to the Switch. Now I see it in comments every day, when I'm reading news articles or message boards, whatever it's on, people are tired of the 3DS. I'm not. I actually have my 3DS here. I still play it pretty regularly, probably not as much as my Switch, of course, because it's new and it has a lot of great stuff on it, but I still play it quite a bit, and there's still some games that I have on it that I still need to get back to and finish, and I will, definitely, because this is not going anywhere. I love my 3DS. But I've heard it on podcasts, seen it in message boards, seen it in comments. They keep saying things like, I'm done with the 3DS, let's get rid of this. Why don't they just kill it already? Why don't they release every new game on the Switch? And, to be honest, the 3DS has a huge install base, which is probably why they're still releasing new games on it. It's a good idea to keep all of, the people who own these things, happy, because you got your 3DS, you got your 3DS XL, which is what I got. You got the 2DS. There's a lot of different versions of this thing, but there's like millions and millions and tens of millions, I believe, of people who own these things, so they're trying to keep them happy. But it's a great question as to why don't all the new games just come out on the Switch? A lot of people have moved on. The Switch, you know, here's mine, by the way. I got the cool green and yellow, Joy-Cons here or whatnot. But why don't they just release the, Mario and Luigi games on this? I understand part of it is because the two-screen thing. It was easier to go from DS to 3DS because of the two-screen thing. But, like, just put a new installment on the Switch, charge $60, and people are going to be way happier with that. But people, unfortunately, want this thing to die. And that, of course, is a topic for another video as well. But people they don't want to play this anymore. They're tired of it. They keep claiming it's, it's a 9-year-old console. Get rid of it. Kill it already. Focus on the Switch. And it makes sense because the Switch, it's a portable console, where this was also a portable console. They're just competing against each other at this point, and people see that, they understand it, and people are ready, unfortunately, to put their 3DS away. They're ready to put it to bed. They're ready to call it quits. They're ready to say, kill it, put it in a coffin, bury it out in the backyard next to the old, family pet. Now, what I will end with today is that if you are a fan of the 3DS, or if you're looking for a new fun RPG to play, I will give Bowser's Inside Story a recommendation. If you haven't played it already, you want to experience it, I recommend it. It's a great game. There's a lot of great personality. If you want to see the Mario characters in sort of a different life, because it gives everybody a different personality, a different characterization, I recommend it because I love the game, and I love the series, to be quite honest. I think it's a great series of games. But if you're looking for one to play on the 3DS on your dying console, it's one I recommend, and I think it's a lot of fun. But there you go, everybody. That's the video for today. If you liked what you saw, or you agree with my points, disagree with the points, I don't care. Let me know in the comments. I'll definitely field your questions, whatever's going on. Otherwise, hey, if you just like the video, give me a GG in the comments and call it a day, because I'll like that too. Of course, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And don't forget to join us on Discord, where we can talk more about Bowser and Mario and Quake and whatever else you want to talk about. All right, everybody. I'll see you all next time.
GRC.